Hello and welcome to Torment, Tides of Numenera. So Sally Mary told us to enter the Reef of the Fallen Words and secure the anechoic Lazaret, a place she holds to great value and secret from his colleagues, but one of them may have an input on it. And before we head down there, maybe we just see if we wanna share that information or not. Snarf. Slouch before you is a figure clad in a dusty, unremarkable robe. Loose folds of rough cloth shift to reveal a vaguely humanoid form with elongated facial features and two elaborate biomechanical arms. You can't help but notice the size, the shape, and even the number of its digits changing as it tinkers with a bizarre-looking device on the table. It glances up to you. Its eyes are the size of your palms. You realize it is a visitant, a being from another world. Greetings, fellows. Greetings, fellow sentient. It says, nodding with a studied respect. I will be with you in a moment. Its mechanical fingers contract and dance independently over the surface of the device before it, adjusting and tightening. There, I'm Snurf. Guest of the Order of Truth. What brings you to my workplace? Tell me about yourself. Your curiosity honors me, it says, inclining its head. I came through the bloom from another world. To be absolutely honest, I was exiled for inadvertent sacrilege and perversion. Is that so? I would imagine that you are curious about my people's reproductive processes at this point. It adds placidly. I would happily describe them. Hell yeah! That's what I wanted. This guy doesn't know a meaning of too much information. I wasn't, but that sounds like an interesting topic. It is. Snurf says blind. Now, the thing is... No, let's just hear what he says. Though it's far from the most esoteric method I've uncovered in my studies. The thing is, we might just judging him. So let's just hear him out. Maybe he's not a bad guy. Maybe he's not a bad guy whatsoever. But maybe he just likes sharing information. It's a rather complicated topic, however, so let me know when you are ready to speak at length. Oh, really? In this game, a character says it's a rather complicated topic, and ready when I'm... And only talk to him, or it, when I'm ready to speak at length. I casually have like half an hour or 4-minute long conversation with characters. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to hear about your people's methods of procreation. Those are fighting words. Deprived of the layers of sociological complexity, the process is quite simple. The visitant says, at a certain age, my people ceremonically choose a limb for removal. The limb is grown into a new being, children, in your terminology. This is where matters get more complicated. The selected part relegates the child to a caste. Armed children become laborers, leg children become warriors, and head children, due to the sacrifice implied by their creation, become leaders. I don't even know. Can I just go with no children? I mean, like, I'm good, okay? Especially don't want the head children. But it's certainly crazy. I thought that it's gonna just start out like you know, you're gonna reproduce with yourself, but that's just crazy. Like, but you actually followed up with even more crazy. Snurf studies its metal hands. As I've suggested, the limbs we surrender do not grow back. In fact, those who replace their limbs insult their children and sin against their people. Ooh. This is where your biomechanical arms come in, I imagine. You're correct. Unfortunately, I surrendered my arms to create my children. They grew to maturity and joined me in my study of various void-born Numenera. For a time, we were happy. It lowers his eyes. Then I discovered a melted humanoid figurine. I didn't know more than glance at its folded arms before it opened its eyes. And it is the last thing I remember. I awoke with the arms you see now. My children, thinking I had disowned them, disowned me, and my people were even less merciful. I'm sorry. I mean, like, wow, I gotta be a total jackass to say that. Good, you deserve it. I'm sorry that happened to you. I mean, like, okay, fine. Your sympathy is appreciated, but not warranted. The visitant says, though it is avoiding your eyes. I found other ways to make my mind off the loss of my family and my people since. It was only when I began visiting other worlds that I learned that most species do not reproduce by severing their limbs. Nerf says, shaking his head. The discovery fascinated me, and so I began cataloging the various methods of procreation found throughout the void. It was only when I found my way to Sagus cliffs, by the way of the bloom, that I was offered a place to work, here, in the Order of Truth. And there you have it. The visitant says, folding its mechanical arms. That's the long version? Oh boy, you have no idea what you're in for. I mean, like, the short version of most guys is just like 40 minutes at least. But that was interesting. I mean, like, I would have one question. I mean, like, how do you guys figure it out? I mean, like, that seems like an odd way to go, but I suppose just it just pops off, like your leg or arm or something like that. I suppose, because it's not really something. Because the thing I have a problem with is that, you know, he obviously doesn't hold it in. I don't know. I don't think he loves it, just getting rid of his limbs and his head and whatever. And yeah, I just find it odd that this is how reproduction kind of like evolved on your planet. Oh, I want to have children. I'm gonna cut off my head. Tell me about one of these reproductive processes you find so fascinating. Calarius. Though they are brutal creatures formed from organic and inorganic substances, they do share certain characteristics with my people. They do not have genders and reproduce by expelling an organic mass deep into moist, fertile soil. The mass eventually grows into an autonomous being. The effect it has on nearby sentient life form is truly fascinating, for the survivors anyway. I wasn't old enough to hear about any of that. Ray moans, covering her ears. And I never wanna be. Come on, girl. You gotta hear. You know, it's better knowing. You're just a street girl and you gotta know stuff. You might be not ready for this, but you gotta know it. I mean, like, I don't know. Tell me some of the reproductive processes you find fascinating. Rin said she wanted extra. Flesh pups, or skin swimmers, are particularly interesting, if somewhat gruesome. The tiny parent painlessly invades a host organism who does not notice the parasite until a painful, rigid swelling appears on the torso or a neck. Once the host is drained of nutrients, the boil bursts, releasing a glistering flood of newborn pups. Great. We should retreat. Artis hisses in your ear. The visitant is filling my head with unwelcome images. Where are you from again? Tell me some other reproductive processes you find fascinating. Xiomark, also called rod blooms, pell their prey with venomous stingers and plant their fertilized eggs directly into the corpse. In a little more than a week, the children are born, rusting up through the decaying, yielding flesh like flowers in bloom. The Order of Truth will give workspace to anyone these days. Okay. Tell me about others! Come on, keep them coming! The human method is particularly fascinating and intricate. It involves... It trails off. Oh, I beg your pardon. Please go on. Really? Resident says surprised. It is your first time hearing about human sexual reproduction? Assume it is. Go on, I'm listening. I just wanna hear your take on it. Gladly, Resident says. Human sexual reproduction at the simplest level requires genetic material from all the partners, which can range from 2 to 29? Okay. I mean, like, the 29 is how you usually do it, though. At the beginning of the ritual, the partners often remove their clothes, masks, and expensive shoes to reveal their flesh to the other members and any watching deities. Pardon me, but are you alright? I'm listening. Great. I'm like, yeah. I mean, like, you know, it's a 29 member like ritual with deities. Yes, keep it coming. Of course, as I was saying, once the clothing and accessories have been successfully discarded, intercourse can begin. With a mighty cry, the dominant participant exposes their abdomen, and all other members of the coital cluster prepare themselves for supreme pleasure. Visitor frowns. I have inadequate information on the next portion, but I am told that the penetration occurs. My subjects were somewhat vague on what was penetrating what. At any rate, once all the partners are satisfied, they conclude the sex act with a firm handshake. Snurf bleeds in. Between the two of us, I believe that most of that information was fabricated as a joke at my expense. Fortunately, I have been invited to observe a human mating ritual next week. I look forward to adjusting my data. I love this guy, he's great. I wonder if I'm expected to wear expensive shoes as well. I shall make a note to ask. That was awesome. What else would you like to know? I mean, like, I love it. Like, you know, tell me some other. I'm like, you have others? I must decline at the moment. In truth, I find all of them fascinating. We could be here all day. Okay, what's the device you're working on? I just like enthusiasm, and this guy is enthusiastic. A minor project of mine, it says with a self-deprecating wave. Something to widen the boundaries of my research. It scans for unknown reproductive processes and displays them for further study. Are you all about just the reproduction? Come on, mate. The device clicks to itself. Ah! Snare says, watch! A transparent image of two goat-headed humanoids appear over the device. At first, it seems they are wrestling each other. After a moment, you realize your mistake. Copulating marker. Fascinating. The visitant begins taking careful, angular notes in unfamiliar language on the scroll beside the device. There is quite a lot of motion involved, isn't there? And that is okay. I want to work there. I mean, like, come on. I want to see some goat sex loudly, like, playing on my iPad when I'm at work. Come on. This is just basic stuff. This guy has it, but a lot of us don't. Why? I don't get it. Come on. We need the freedom to watch any animal porn we want on our iPad while we're at work. But at max volume, of course. You just gotta hear it. You know? You wanna listen to it and just take a glimpse of now and then. Anyway, you're going to be rich. Great stuff. I mean, like... What? No, the visitor said. The device itself will not be for sale. I am writing a book, however. Oh, are you? I didn't quite catch your name. How do you pronounce it again? Oh, it says, you're hearing a brief elision in my name, correct? A majority of the component syllables are untranslatable or beyond human ranges of hearing. I will try to approximate them. It draws in a deep breath. Oh boy. Shnarag Narga! With a brief poem about the ambient temperature of dust in moonlight here. Contast! The word that describes a color similar to blue. Ramalelf! Shrugs. I prefer the name you people here. My name is all too common where I come from. Alright. Smurf! Smurf it is! Can I call you Smurf? I'm like... Okay, fine, whatever. Those arms of yours are interesting. How do they function? Do you know that? You don't. I'm not quite sure. It says, raising them for your inspection, extra digits whirl out of the mechanical palms in somewhat a nauseating wave and disappear just as quickly. They seem to be as sentient as either of us, but obedient as long as I keep them busy. Otherwise they scramble about via rest, touching things, picking locks, strangling the odd rodent. Does it in size? I'm forced to take up knitting. Oh, forced them to take up knitting. Wow, really? Okay, that's odd. I guess has some downsides as well. But those are some good arms. If you didn't have arms before, you definitely want to have some of those. I guess he had arms at first, and he has children. It's like cutting your own arm off. Like both of them. The thin young man smiles hesitantly as you approach. You notice a small metallic ovoid protruding from his skull, nearly hidden by his disheveled hair. The fingers of his left hand tap nervously on his leg as he speaks. I'm not a real priest yet, he blurts, then blushes. If that's what you were thinking, or usually visitors don't talk to me because they think I'm a priest, but I'm still an officer. He plucks at the threadbare spot on his robes. What is that implant on your forehead? It's not just on my forehead. Not just the skin, I mean, it's bonded with my skull. He blinks at you a few more times before he realizes he hasn't answered your question. It keeps me awake and alert. I don't get tired until it runs out of power. What power is it? Dreams. The scarier ones, the better. That sounds like a good way to go crazy. I can't remember the last time I had a good dream, actually. I'm sure it's just coincidence, though. What's your area of study? What? He says, blinking, straightening. You wanna know what I'm working on? Are you sure? Yeah. I'm designing an intelligence, but not the normal kind. No, just metal or with a dependent intelligence rigging system. No, it's larger than that, stronger. Spare me the marketing thing. Just tell me what you're doing. You can just say like it's better, stronger. I'm like, come on, not the normal kind. Lan himself seems to be getting stronger, rising as he speaks. You hadn't noticed before, but he's actually taller than you. Damn it. The idea is intelligence that can find, test, identify, and fully understand Numenera. We can unlock the secrets of lost civilizations. His eyes are gleaming now, and he raises a trembling fist. Do you understand? If we can do this, we can break the chains binding us to the past, and turn them into reins with which to steer the future. I can't help noticing that your plan is long on rhetoric and short on specifics. Yep. I have a plan, he says defensively, dropping his righteous fist, but it will take more time and money. The fervent gleam slowly fades from his eyes. It's only a theory though, for now. I don't have the funding, not yet, but I've been studying machines with Min when he can't spare the time, and he likes my ideas, even if he thinks they are impossible. He looks away. I think he's disappointed I'm not a real Aeon priest yet. Yeah. Scant thoughts. I should have the money by now. I was told they would keep paying me even after the first time. Sounds like Min is being too kind to you. Don't you... Oh, really? Don't you want to be one? Oh yes! That would change everything. Only full level priests have access to the order funds. I can use them to build a full prototype. Min might protest, but you'll understand once I get the design right. He licks his lips. They're dry, almost leathery. I just need to get it right, that's all. What do you need to do to become an Aeon priest? You have to make a major discovery. A mystery that's remained unsolved for a long time, but I've spent too much time on my own research. Looks down at his feet. I haven't got anywhere. I'll tell you about something I've discovered. You can claim it as your own and become an Aeon priest. You will? He says, blood draining from his face. Is that allowed? I mean, like, that's not what I want. I want to ask the question that... But I suppose I already got the answer. That he's willing to go for it as long as I give him the chance. No, but who cares? You still win. I just try to suggest him that it's wrong. I suppose, he says, looking doubtful. Alright, what discoveries have you made? What sort of discoveries will help you? Really major ones, he says, looking frustrated. The causes of long-standing problems in the city, for example, or solving a mystery that's remained unexplained for a long time. Okay, then I have nothing. Sorry about that. Oh, he says. Oh, alright. Fine. But if we figure out something, we will not tell this guy because we are the ones who are taking credit for it for sure.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's just how it goes. A mass of leathery flesh sags against the railing. Sharp probes are stuck into its skin, surrounded by festering sores that ooze a foul-smelling oil. We might do it if we don't care about the credit, and just wanna screw with these Order of Truth guys. Okay, what is this?
Let's go.
This deck is cluttered with scrawled notes, piles of paper, and worn books. The owner was either extremely disorganized or left in a hurry. Allegern steps closer to the desk. He grows in frustration. This is where old Fong usually works, but where is he? Examine the papers and the books. Before you have a chance to examine the mess, Allegern leans forward and plucks a folded note from the top of the pile. Ort is a paranoid bastard. He writes all his messages in code. Looks like this one is for me. He breaks the wax seal and scans the note, and as he reads, his face grows tight with fury. Fong took my frame and left. He said it's not safe here. He wrote more but about my tattoos and he snaps his mouth shut. Never mind, he's not here. He glances toward the young priest. We can talk about it some other time. Okay, that's it.
On it.
Not right now, I guess. Balazar. Oh. Argento's notes are spread across Balazar's workbench. Individual images and words are circled. As smudges of ink decorate the young priest's thin cheekbones. Fascinating. His conclusions are all wrong, of course, but the data. Hello? He says, his eyes glitter with cheerful exhaustion. What are you doing here? What? He mutters, only half listening. Argento's notes have a clear command of his attention. Oh, he says finally, without looking at you. I'm part of the Order of Truth. I work here. Pages rustle beneath his hands. What do you do here? He begins and turns a page, his brows furrow with intense interest. I've seen another creature with these markings before, he mutters. Biomechanical? No. Organic stone? He has apparently forgotten You are here. Okay.
If you're sure it's safe.
I'm not. This glowing display shows a globe, the ninth world. Probably green lines depict trajectories that a ship could follow into the void between the worlds. What is this? Oh, no, no. These books are piled haphazardly on the floor. They reflect a dozen areas of inquiry, most of which are entirely unrelated to each other.
Of course.
Huh. Loot? Appearance of the Segs Protectorate. Take it. Looks like it's worth something.
Yes.
What is this?
Now.
A small wireframe pyramid sits on a base of polished wood. Lying inside the pyramid is a dull sphere of silverish metal. Examine the sphere. Suspended in its wire cage, the sphere is almost perfectly sized to fit in your palm. The gaps in the wiry mesh are large enough for you to reach through, though not large enough to pull the sphere out. Okay, touch the sphere. As you extend your hand toward the sphere, the thinner strands along the front side of the cage retract toward the thinner frame edges, creating an opening large enough for the sphere to fit through. Take it! You pull the sphere out of the frame through the opening facing you, and it immediately begins to glow scintillating blue. You pause a moment to make sure there are no other effects, then try to put it with the rest of your belongings. At some point during this motion, the sphere simply vanishes, only to reappear with the frame, once again a dull gray. Apparently, taking the sphere will not be so easy. Examine the frame. The frame appears to be fixed firmly in place. It's constructed of an organic material grown in manner similar to bone or coral. Thinner, vein-like strands of the material wind across each of the triangular sides. Something strikes you as odd about it, but you can't quite determine why. Perception. Try to discover what seems odd about the frame. I'm not really perceptive. Go with 70%. It's bad. It's intelligence base. 70% is the best I got. No, we can go with 90. 85. Using her intellect. No, I use his. We're taking the 90. While examining the frame, you try nudging it gently and it shifts in a most peculiar manner. You focus on moving the frame in various directions and discover that it can be easily lifted straight up of the base and lowered back down onto it. But it refuses to move laterally, even while being held in mid-air. Examine the base. The base appears to be made from a slab of lurid red stone. On a closer inspection, you recognize it has a petrified wood of some kind. An inscription has been written on the base in front of the pyramid. Examine the inscription. The inscription is an alien language. It has been burned into the wood and then filled with a luminous substance. Though you know you haven't seen the language in your own short life as a cast-off, it still seems familiar. Anamnesis. Try to recall where you've seen the language before. Alright. Do your best. Anamnesis, definitely helpful. Distant memory surfaces. You're standing before a large metal cylinder that looms a meter or two above your head. The cylinder is a time capsule of sort, and you're convinced that what lies within is critical to your latest experiments. The problem, alas, is that the capsule is locked, and the only clue to opening it is a series of strange glyphs etched into its sides. Glancing around, you see dusty tomes, faded banners, metal scraps, and dozens of other objects, all featuring the same strange glyphs. You spent a lifetime collecting every trace of this language that could be found, and decades of study have finally led to this moment. You look upon the glyphs and you know their meaning. Stepping forward, you reach toward the cylinder as prescribed by the etchings, and it flares to life. Shaking off the memory, you look down at the inscription and realize that its meaning is now clear. Crimson Dawn greets the Seeker, the Violet Dusk seeks the search's end. Take the sphere again. You pull the sphere out again, and once again... Oh. And once again it glows a brilliant blue before disappearing and returning to the frame. After a little experimentation, you discover that the sphere's position seems to reset whenever it moves beyond a particular distance from the device. As long as you keep it within that distance, you can hold onto it. Take the entire device with you. The device is far too bulky to carry around with you. As if reading your thoughts, man looks over and shakes his head sadly while muttering something under his breath. Leave the device alone. As you step away from the device, the sphere disappears, immediately reappearing within the frame. So, this guy, Min, might know about this.
Yeah, that's something I could do.
Alright, Calistige, should we talk with you? Let's do it.
You're still traveling with the ambling mood dampener. Good. One shouldn't become too ebullient.
Oh, come on. A handful of words and you're reminded of me? How grateful I am not to see you every day. And I you, Aligern. Indeed, the sum happiness of my sisters has improved dramatically. Now, Castov, if you wish to speak to me, I need to retain my sunny disposition, by which I mean lose this wretch. If you want me more amenable to your words. What? I can't even talk with her?
All right.
With Aligern in the party? Damn, Aligern. I suppose I need to drop you. Like, at one point. Alright, Min of Danliang. This priest is tall, thin, and dressed only in black. Narrow slashes of oil decorate his unlined skin like letters in an unknown tongue. His eyes are harried, but alive with intelligent humor. They land on you with a tiny flicker of recognition. He's back? I wonder what brings him here now. And his gaze moves from you to Aligern and hardens. Oh God, he says. No one's shouted at me for hours. I already said everything I need to, Aligern says, folding his arms. Anything else would be a waste of breath. What's going on here? You're looking at the Min of Town Liang, head puppet of the Order of Truth, Aligern says, jerking his head at Min. More interested in where the next shit is coming from than, say, doing any actual research. This may shock you, Min says, and it shouldn't, because we've had this talk before, but research into the Numenera takes time. Ort needs a quiet place to work, he needs food and bed, and none of this is free. Min sweeps a hand through his dark hair. Like it or not, and I know you don't, the slave families demand cooperation for their shins, and if we don't maintain the levy network, we don't play their games. If we don't play their games, that funding goes away, and so does the Order of Truth. I'm like, I get this Min of Town Liang guy, but, I don't know, like, how much are you considering funding? Because it's a slippery slope. Just saying. Maybe that would be for the best, man. Aligern, you're not being fair, actually. Maybe not, he says. crossing his arms. But I don't remember fair being one of the requirements for the truth. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh yeah. In sighs and turns his full attention to you. I recognize you, he says. It's been 10 years. I don't think we ever spoke. You were one of the visiting Salimari. You were the one visiting Salimari all the time, right? Working on some sort of organic machine technology. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Welcome back, Min says, unaware of, or perhaps ignoring Aliger's muffled grumbling at your side. What brings you to the Order of Truth? He looks like he's lying, but why? More importantly, how? I know it's him. Salimar told me there's a Memuvira spy in the Order of Truth. We think so, he says with an irritated glance at Salimari. But not because we've seen people in dark cloaks creeping around. He lowers his voice, but not enough that the anger buried in it is completely ridden. We've lost Dick's sights to her thugs. Maybe people too. We can't be sure because we've never found any trace of them. He rubs his forehead with a stained hand. We'll catch the spy. Only a matter of time. Where is Ortfang now? You found his note, didn't you? Aliger would know better than I would, or didn't tell any of us where he was going. Can you tell me about your work? Heh, he says, shaking his head. That's a big question, even on the best days. I specialize in mechanical Numenera, intelligent or not, but I haven't had the time for research since I started managing our branch of the Order. Can I ask you questions about the mechanical Numenera? I would be incredibly grateful if you did. Every other conversation I have revolves around how I'm ruining the Order or not doing enough to save the Order. Oh man. Those ungratefuls, and you don't even wanna do it. He rubs his forehead with the back of his callous hand. Please ask me about wires and blinking lights. Wow. Tell me about the machine behind you. It makes levies, the guardians of Sagus. He rubs his chin. Our records say that Diviatiku found a similar device in the ruins of Arcoplasia, far to the north. He convinced the city that a local version, a modified one, would be of use. In order to become a citizen, everyone in Sagus Cliffs, even the ones born here, gives a year of their life to the machine. It uses that borrowed time to create a levy. That seems fair. It's an elegant way to serve. What if someone only has 1 year to live? Wouldn't they die the second they entered the machine? That's a good question. No, he frowns. They never die in the machine, but it catches up with them a few days later. That doesn't happen very often. Sometimes I think the machine actually saves them, prevents them from meeting whatever fate was in store, but not always. At any rate, the levies created by the machine are nearly identical, and they only last a year. After that, they quietly return to the machine and dissolve into. His hands grip the air, trying to frame the words. Grey gunk. It's incredibly unpleasant to watch, but they don't seem to mind. That's disgusting. I met a levy that was losing its mind. It believed it had gotten a bad year from its creator. That's incredible. He breathes, then catches himself. And bad, very, very bad. I'll take a look at the machine before the next citizen comes in. I wish I could say that's the first time this happened. Anyway, that's the machine. Any other questions? I'm trying to repair a device known as a resonance chamber. You what? I thought that thing was a myth. And you're trying to repair it? Where is it? Is that what he and Sally Mary was working on? I'd love to see that. I'd rather not say. No, not yet. Ah, he says, his mouth twisting. You're probably wise anyway. Do you have any piece of the machine with you? I have a shard of it. Take a look. He handles the shard with care. Organic and crystalline. It was grown into the appropriate shape for the machine. This is definitely what Sally Mary was working on all those years ago with her partner. He looks at you, his eyebrows raised, but does not say any more. Reluctant, he hands it back to you. It must be him then, but why lie? I'll tell Mary about it later. In all honesty, I focus more on traditionally powered machines. Sally Mary has some experience with organic machine construction. You might ask her about it. Let's talk about something else. Happy to. What is it? Do you have more time to talk about the mechanical Numenera? What is the order of truth? Good question. He chews his lip for a moment, framing his words. We live on the surface of a vast labyrinth of layered ruins, packed with relics and artifacts, windows into the past. Some people are content to find them, use them, and sell them. He grins. But not the order of truth, not the young priests. We want to understand the Numenera, study them, point at them, and argue about them. Now, in the West, the Order of Truth is much bigger than this little enclave. It's a vast organization led by the Ember Pope. Out there, our words turn the heads of kings. He shrugs. Around here, we occasionally get discounts on equipment from local vendors and a free cup of tea. Not that I'm complaining. Are there a lot of Aeon priests in Sega's Cliffs? How did a chapter of Order of the Truth end up out here? That's a good question. It was founded 300 years ago by a Varialan, a nano named Diviatiku. And that's his statue outside. He governed, or you could say ruled, the order, which with more force than you see in traditional chapters. He set us up in the spire, handpicked new members, and chose them for particular projects of his design. We are not quite that organized these days, he says, shrugging. For better or worse, leaders are chosen by consent of the other priests and priestesses, and they don't have a say in what everyone works on. They just deal with the politics and the paperwork so that everyone else can focus on their ruinous side projects and hideously dangerous experiments. He flashes a grin. Which is to say, I'm the leader because I'm the only one who admits we need to eat. Oh, I love that. Leadership is a lonely path. I wish that were true, he says. I'm rather lonely. People visit me all the time, usually furious, and waving their hands. But someone has to deal with the world outside these walls. The slave families, for some reason, aren't interested in funding wild, endless experimentation. They like results, especially weaponizable ones. So I review their requests, deflect the crazier ones, and convince my colleagues to work for a living occasionally. He nods at the nearby machine. They also create the levies that guard the city, though that seems more as a responsibility than a favor these days. What are the levies? They are Segus's version of a city watch. You may have seen them around. He plasters on a wide, fake grin and points at it. They wear armor and look like this. You can't miss them. Good to see that Segus makes scholars live in the real world. I wouldn't really put that... Okay. You should refuse, follow your own interest, and the funding will follow. I'm not so sure about that. Perhaps. It's a shame the Order has to earn its keep in the city. The second, I don't like the second one because I'm just telling him what to do. The first one is passing judgment as well. And it's a shame that the order has to earn its keep in the city. Let's just go with that. Well, it has its ups and downs, he says, shrugging. Some of our people could use some grounding. He scratches his head absently. What else do you want to know about the order? I saw Diviatico inside the clock in Circus Minor. Your founder was the changing god, or a cast-off. He squints at you, then at the ceiling. It's possible, he says at last. Diviatico's behavior matches the stories I've heard about the changing god, but he hasn't exactly shown up here to pick up where he left off. He shrugs. If you're right, maybe he just lost interest. But, are there a lot of Aeon priests in Sagus Cliffs? Yes, but they are not strictly here, he says. Some are out on digs or various expeditions. We only have a few Aeon priests in the city right now. There's Salimari, who I mentioned before. Balazar studies biomedical life forms. Ort Faung is an expert in inexplicable and malicious architecture and should be back soon. He pauses, tickling his fingers and furrowing his brow. And Snarf, of course, a visitant who developed an interest in all forms of reproduction. It isn't one of us, and I don't think it wants to be, but we gave it a space to work on its projects. He leaves him. Don't go over there unless you're invented a way to scrub your memory clean. Also, Lan Uring, of course. He's been educated in the order, but he's still looking for a discovery that will make him an Aeon priest. Something else? Do you have something else? Oh, that's it. Very well. Come back in time. So we can't interact with Calistige, and we have no idea who might be the spy in the order. No clue. But we need to add to the Reef of the Fallen Worlds, and I believe that is the next approach, the next way we have to head, because we can go to the Underbelly, I believe. How's it called? Am I right? Underbelly, yes. And Caravanserai.
Sure.
I didn't go to those places just yet. Alsemperi. Okay, let's just go. Oh, looks like I don't need to heal. I mean, I don't need to rest. I'm losing some points. I used up some points just for conversation, but yeah, most part okay. I don't know. I don't even have a lot of shins to afford it. I can afford like one.
All right.
Oh, Nick Tamaron is still here. It's really nice to see this combination, like force field and like stone.
I'm ready.
Such a combination. Also, we using maces and like psychic attacks. The low tech and the high tech really combines here. Oh, really? That's nice to see. Anyway, before we head out here, because this is where we need to head out, I believe this is a good time to take a break, so hope you guys had fun. Tell me if you did, and see you around. And have a good one.